Compared to the raging dumpster fire that was Evergrande, the rise and struggle of Country Garden has been more subtle, like a whale passing under a boat. Its founder is extremely low-key. Nevertheless, Country Garden blowtorched its way to be China's biggest real estate giant. Then in 2023, their fortunes reversed. In this video, we talk about China's Country Garden. But first, this video is brought to you by the Asianometry Patreon. Early access members get to see new videos first and selected references for those videos. Early access really helps me a lot, and I appreciate every pledge. Thank you, and on with the show. Yang Guoqiang was born in 1955 amidst poverty in Foshan City within southern Guangdong province. Until 1978, when Deng Xiaoping started opening up the country, Yang worked as a simple farmhand plowing the fields. His biography, which he has often repeated in interviews, claims that he did not own a pair of shoes until he was 18. In 1978, his brother brought him onto a local housing construction site. After that, Yang joined a government-owned construction company, the Beijiao Economic Development Company of Shunde. Beijiao is a town in the district of Shunde, which in turn sits within Foshan City, Guangdong province. This agricultural town was once the smallest of smallest backwaters, but today it hosts two of China's biggest companies, Country Garden and the appliance maker Midea. Eventually, Yang and a group of investors purchased the economic development company during a restructuring. Yang became its general manager, kind of like a CEO, and eventually its chairman. In 1988, China began a series of land reforms that would forever change the country's real estate industry. The overarching goal of these reforms were to encourage workers to buy and own their own homes. Some of the measures included the privatization of public housing, the commercialization of housing, and the development of a new housing sector. Yang, well positioned as the head of a real estate company, quickly recognized the huge opportunity that these reforms would create in the private housing market. So in 1992, he merged Beijiao with two other companies to form a property development company. The next year, 1993, the new company started to develop a new community of high-end villas in Beijiao town. The project was called Shunde Country Garden, or just Country Garden. It quickly struggled. In my previous video on Evergrande, I neglected to give a detailed overview of how these real estate projects and their pre-sales work. I certainly at first had no idea how they worked, especially in Asia. In the early 1990s, the Chinese government amended its laws to create the land sales system that is so famous today. Local governments, unable to raise large sums of money for development, are allowed to sell plots of land to real estate development companies. Now, for the real estate development company buying the rights to that land via bidding, listings, or auction, they need to plan, design, and sell a project for them to make their investment back. The project could be one big building, a bunch of small buildings, or an entire community with homes and all that. Real estate companies often have large land banks, which represent the parcels of land that the company can develop down the line. Investors want to see companies with bigger land banks in valuable or up-and-coming cities. No matter what the project is, it's going to cost some money. So to fund the project, the real estate development company sets up a sales office and pre-sells units to the public. 90% of units in China are pre-sold. Once they pre-sell enough units, they can start construction. Construction usually takes about 1 to 2 years. If the company is reputable, then they are giving constant updates about the progress of the construction. If all goes well, then buyers get their homes. The real estate development company might continue to generate revenues from these tenants through building management services like security guards, maintenance, and whatnot. The real estate development industry is incredibly competitive. You're building a very capital-intensive thing, which means you want to construct it quickly, sell it quickly, and get money back quickly. The stakes are high. The business owners want their return on investment, the customers want their homes, and so on. To increase their project's attractiveness to customers, large development companies build entire communities, including schools, shops, hotels, entertainment, and the like, with their own specialties. For instance, the giant Dalian Wanda builds big commercial real estate projects like their Wanda Plazas. Wanda Plazas are full multifunctional complexes with 5-star hotels, department stores, office buildings, and movie theaters. This full integration allows the company to capture more profits across the entire value chain, something that is increasingly necessary as net profit margins on the actual real estate development activity falls below 10%. In line with this multifunctionality, we go back to Yang's first real estate project, Country Garden. The first phase launched in 1993, and Yang struggled to sell units for it amidst a difficult housing market. Two of his shareholder partners in the project pull out. Desperate, Yang reaches out to a Xinhua reporter named Wang Zhigang for an article to promote his project. Wang went to the unfinished site and tells Yang that if Country Garden wanted to distinguish itself from the competition, then it can't just make, quote, steel and concrete, end quote. Rather, it needed to make a whole lifestyle that its potential customers can aspire to. Yang was already mulling the idea of building and running a small school as like an attached gym-type amenity. But Wang's suggestion hit like lightning. Yang immediately hires Wang to master plan Country Garden. Country Garden goes all in to produce not only a high-class international private school, but also a 5-star international club. Aware of the growing importance of education, Wang positions this school as an absolute luxury. Thus, in 1994, we have Guangdong Country Garden School, a posh boarding school that goes from kindergarten to primary to junior high to senior high school. Dump the kid in boarding school for 15 years and enjoy the international club. I see the appeal. The school was also one of the first schools in inland Guangdong to offer IB, International Baccalaureate classes, and is located on a sprawling 200,000 square meter green campus. It looks very nice. In order to secure a spot at this top-ranked school, you need to pay $50,000 USD up front. The families of 3,000 children in the rising Guangdong province signed up, and their deposits immediately solved Country Garden's cash shortfall, anchored the community, and sparked the company's rise. The masterstroke established Wang's reputation as a marketing guru, and he worked for them for another 3 years. Country Garden hit its stride with this lifestyle concept that is reflected in their advertising slogan, giving you a 5-star home. In 1995, Country Garden is the first company in the Chinese real estate industry to introduce hotel-style concierge, 24-hour security, maintenance, housekeeping, and other such services to a residential area. Country Garden quickly found appeal with richer Hong Kongers looking for an investment or second home in a more affordable inland area of Guangdong. Some 30,000 buy in, and people nickname it the Mini Hong Kong. In 1998, Country Garden moves out of its native Shunde district and starts building their second massive project, Guangzhou Country Garden. In only its first month of open pre-sales in 1999, Guangzhou Country Garden sells an astounding 3,000 units. The 1997 Asian financial crisis had caused many other real estate developers in the mainland to hold back. But Yang boldly pushed forward, borrowing large sums of money at crippling rates in order to buy more advertising. And so they build multiple country gardens each year, including Phoenix City, which sold like gangbusters, and more. They don't build outside of the Guangdong province until 2006, when they debut Country Garden Changsha Venice City in the Hunan province. Opened in October 2006, it's a Venetian-style water city on an island with hotels, schools, and business parks. Despite this, the company is not interested in simply just sticking to luxury niches. Yang greatly admires Walmart and its founder, Sam Walton's everyday low prices motto. He wants to expand and go big as fast as possible. Yang has explained his business strategy for Country Garden, which has echoes of Walmart's, as the following. Low-cost land, large-scale production, and fast sales. Let us go through some of those one by one. Low-cost land. Walmart began its conquest of the American retail market by targeting large suburban areas and small towns where the land was cheap. Country Garden would later do the same thing, pushing into China's second and third tier cities, which are not as well developed as Shanghai or Beijing. For instance, Foshan City, where it all began for them, is a second tier city. And while the name of Guangzhou Country Garden, Phoenix City, refers to the tier 1 city of Guangzhou, It's actually located in the suburb of Dengcheng district outside of the main city. As a result, Country Garden's cost of land acquisition for its projects is less than 10% of the total project budget. They can pass those costs on to the customer. Second is large-scale production. One of Walmart's early differentiators was to build in-house logistics and distribution systems to cut costs and offer the lowest prices. Country Garden decided to do something similar, to squeeze costs out of every part of their supply chain. Yang had visited Xiaomi's Lei Jun, who told him to go achieve as much scale as possible. The larger the scale, the greater the profits. For the 2001 project, Country Garden Phoenix City, Country Garden not only constructed the project but also designed, planned, and managed it. They owned their own factories to produce the glass, brick, and decorations. And lastly, fast sales. Walmart wants to make their cash back as fast as possible to minimize their financial risks. Same with Country Garden, and it is their secret weapon. Country Garden's competitors, Evergrande, Sunac, and the such, also go into Tier 2, Tier 3, and Tier 4 cities. They also have their own factories. What makes Country Garden different from those other guys is the brutal speed with which they produce and develop projects. Typically, it takes a Chinese real estate company about 10 months to start getting cash back from its projects. This makes it difficult for them to put more cash to the next project without debt. Country Garden is not satisfied with that, so they run what they call the 5-6-7 method. 5 months after launch to get the first sales, 6 months after launch to recover all their invested capital, and then 7 months after launch to start turning a profit. Some projects go even faster, running a 4-5-6-8 method. 4 months after launch to sell the property, 5 months after launch to collect the payments, 6 months after launch for positive cash flow, and 8 months to start reinvesting in other projects. For Country Garden, there is no such thing as a fastest, only faster. The company invested in methods to speed up the construction process, including automated mechanical production and casting, not to mention close interactions with the local government to speed up approvals. Even for the Chinese, this is kind of crazy. You can speed up sales, you can make employees go hard and work overtime, but you can't speed up the construction process at the risk of causing quality defects and accidents would later indeed happen. In a speech at the 2018 Boao Real Estate Forum, Ronnie Chan, chairman of the legendary Hong Kong real estate developer Hang Lung Properties, called those running a, quote, high turnover model, perhaps a subtle reference to Country Garden, lunatics. But Yang has pushed ahead, seeing an opportunity to win China and even the world. Privately, Yang is said to have told his CFO, "We acquire land at low cost, develop rapidly, ensure proper facilities, and open at low prices. Such speed is unachievable by others, such control is unattainable by others, but I, Yang Guoqiang, can achieve it." We should talk about Yang. His outward persona is that of an incredibly humble and low-key person. His autobiography, which I just recounted earlier, has Yang as this poor, simple farmer who bumbled into fame and fortune through luck and hard work. In the few interviews he gives, he continually sticks to this story. He has called himself the stupidest man in the world. In front of government officials, he is very low-key and self-effacing. He often claims to be a dumb farmer who does not read often and does not understand many things. And indeed, he is easy to underestimate. His suits do not seem to fit him. He is balding, got a crooked smile, and is not an attractive man by conventional measures. Unlike Evergrande's flamboyant founder and CEO Shi Jiaying, who debuted flashy EV companies, bought a soccer team, donated hundreds of millions of dollars to charity, and so on, Yang keeps it on the down low. He too donates to charity, but again does it very quietly. But in 2018, there was this interesting book written by Country Garden's former CFO and executive director Wu Jianbing. For 27 years, Wu worked at China Shipping, a stodgy old company that keeps debt at just 20%, before joining Country Garden from 2014 to 2017. After leaving, Wu writes a book called My 1,000 Days at Country Garden. Country Garden immediately cracked down on this book, and Wu subsequently issued a public statement saying that its plot was fiction. So take what follows with a grain of salt. But anyway, the Yang in Wu's book looks like a simple peasant on the outside. But on the inside, he is a ruthless, relentless, ultra-fast-paced Reddit degen. He has an incredible appetite for risk. As I mentioned, he dived into Hong Kong despite the 1997 financial crisis. The book says that in 1995, he borrowed 20 million RMB just for advertising, earning just 10,000 RMB back in sales. A year later, he borrows 50 million RMB, earning $100 million in sales. And he is a ferocious motivator of his subordinates. Wu once suggested a warrant stock program so ordinary workers can get stock in the company. Yang killed it on the spot, writing that human nature is quote-unquote selfish. Yang prefers extreme incentive alignment. In 2012, he allocated an unprecedented 20% of the whole company's after-tax profits for its top workers, giving nothing to everyone else. He told his guys, quote, "If you spend an extra RMB, 20 cents of that is yours, so calculate every expenditure and be careful." Wu describes one remarkable September 2014 event where Yang gave 200 million RMB, or $28 million, to just 37 regional presidents and project managers. Country Garden does not practice egalitarianism. This extreme incentive alignment goes both ways, stick and carrot. If the project manager opens the project within 3 months after launch, they earn a 200,000 RMB bonus. 4 months, they get nothing. 5 months, they get a fine. 7 months, they're fired. Remember, for other Chinese real estate companies, 10 months is average. 6 to 9 months is said to be really good. Later on, Yang would also implement a project co-investment mechanism, allowing managers to make money directly on Country Garden projects. This only poured more gasoline on the raging fires inside these managers to push, push, push. All of these management systems are a little nuts, but Yang is relentless. The book has him saying, "In the 1980s, some people likened me to a tiger leading a flock of sheep. Now I am still a tiger, but leading a group of tigers. Think about it. Doesn't that make us invincible and unbeatable in every battle?" And in a rare moment of self-reflection, Yang says of himself, "Frankly speaking, I am a person who does not play by the rules, like a madman. Think about it. I can hire 400 PhDs. I've already hired 200. Probably no other company in the world does this. Under the current real estate environment, I could instruct to buy another 300 plots of land. Probably no one else in the country does." The achievement sharing, which is the aforementioned project co-investment mechanism that I decided to implement, is beyond others' imagination. The forest city I developed in Malaysia is something nobody would dare to conceive. I am a madman, a fanatic. Yang is indeed a madman. In 2007, soon after the debut of Venice City, Country Garden goes public on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. In yet another unusual move before the IPO, Yang Guoqiang gave almost all of his 70% share stake to his second daughter, Yang Huiyan, then just 25 years old. After graduating from Ohio State University, why no Harvard, she entered the company in 2005 as a purchasing manager. At the time of the IPO, Country Garden had a very complicated corporate structure. It is made up of 41 separate on- and offshore companies operating in 4 major business segments: hotels, real estate management, real estate development, and a catch-all called theme park/construction/decoration. On the first day of trading, the stock price surged 35%, making the second Yang daughter the richest woman in China with a $9 billion fortune. Several other of Country Garden's co-founders became billionaires as well. The IPO's publicity and its $1.9 billion windfall marks a major change in pace and strategy for the company. Prior to that, the company largely built and marketed in its core market of Guangdong's Pearl River Delta. The real estate mix, however, then began to change. The company added millions of square meters of land, but only 17% of those acquisitions are in its former core Guangdong province. That year, Country Garden adds 23 new projects entering provinces like Heilongjiang, Inner Mongolia, and Liaoning. Then came the 2008 financial crisis. Country Garden is hit hard. They were going to buy a stake in Hong Kong's dominant broadcaster, TVB Studios, owned by Run Run Shaw. It would have been an interesting diversification, but Yang lost the $1 billion loan needed for the deal, and it fell through. Back on the mainland, the housing market slows down. Country Garden's stock price falls about 90% from its September 2007 high of 13 Hong Kong dollars to just 1 Hong Kong dollar in November 2008. Construction on many Country Garden sites slows down. So the company announces a year of quality where they consult with buyers for feedback. They rebrand with a new logo, research new types of apartment layouts, sell about $300 to $500 million of high-yield bonds, no big deal, and formulate a novel national strategy. Even with the pause, they still managed to launch 14 new projects in 2009. In late 2008, China launches a massive fiscal stimulus that supercharges Chinese investment and real estate prices across the whole country. Then in 2010, Country Garden appoints Mo Bin as its new president and executive director. Mo is an outsider, having worked in a number of real estate companies. He organizes the company and begins hitting Tier 3, 4, and 5 cities under his, quote, Rolls-Royce strategy. The Rolls-Royce strategy believes that every city, no matter what tier, has a small group of prosperous or rising local businessmen and corporate executives. Country Garden wants to build the best houses within that local area and market to those guys. In 2011, they launched the Country Garden Shili Yintan project in Guangdong. Its opening sales of $500 million USD set a record for single-day sales in Chinese real estate history. In 2013, Country Garden ramped up sales again and hit 100 billion RMB for the year. Ladies and gentlemen, we are so back. The Yang and Wu's book mentioned the madness of doing Forest City. In 2012, Country Garden paid some $330 million for the right to prime land in the Iskandar, Malaysia area. It was the largest ever investment by a mainland Chinese company in Malaysia. The first project there launched in 2013, the Golden Bay project in Johor Bahru, which sold over $1 billion in sales and made Country Garden the largest developer in the country. A second project, a Spanish villa-type thing called Diamond City, did well too. This led the way to their third and biggest project, Forest City. Kicked off in 2014, Forest City spans over 1,300 hectares and is a complete integrated town capable of housing thousands of people just a few hundred yards from Singapore. Country Garden owns about 60% of the project. It includes a sports stadium, golf hotel, marina hotel, and a golf course designed by legendary golfer Jack Nicklaus. The project caused a great deal of controversy. The company's fast-moving style did not mesh well with the locals. Fishermen were not consulted and thus were taken aback when land reclamation crews began dumping sand on their fishing grounds in January 2014. The project's eventual target market was also a problem. Forest City apartments targeted middle and high-class Chinese households overseas, quote, international buyers, as Country Garden put it. Obviously, these locals are trying to move their money out of the country, parking it overseas in real estate. So the project hit a bit of a snag at the end of 2016. That year, $33 billion of Chinese money went into foreign real estate, and it was pissing everyone off. Not only the Chinese government, but also the governments of those whose real estate was being bought. So the Chinese government made everyone taking money out of the country sign a pledge not to use their $50,000 quota to invest in real estate. Those who violated the pledge would be put on a watch list and lose several privileges. At the same time, the Malaysian government changed administrations. The new president, 93-year-old Mahathir Mohamad, said that he would not allow residential visas for any foreign Forest City buyers. These two developments basically put a stopper on Forest City's progress. Many Chinese nationals who put down money on a deposit were left high and dry, which is unfortunate for them. But Forest City itself is still around, is still building, though nowhere near as fast, and has a few residents, like though so few, you might call it a ghost town. Golf club apparently pretty popular though. In 2017, Country Garden produced about $500 billion RMB in revenue. This made them China's largest real estate company and put them on 467th on the Fortune Global 500 for the first time. Yang's side project, an education company called Bright Scholar Education, which runs Country Garden's various high-end schools, also listed on the New York Stock Exchange, raising $160 million USD. Things were looking good. At the end of the year, the company had 1,468 projects in 768 counties or towns. Nearly 60% of those projects were in third or fourth tier cities. Next year in 2018, they wanted to double and get to 1 trillion RMB. But all that speed spread across all of China took its toll, leading to accidents. In July 2018, a retaining wall and worker dorm at the Country Garden Anhui Lu'an project collapsed due to stormy winds, sending 16 people to the hospital. 6 died. Chairman Yang apologized, saying that he and his company would deeply reflect. The media furor diminished and things went on. At the end of 2019, Country Garden had 2,512 projects. About 2/3 of those are in third, fourth, fifth, and even sixth tier cities. As real estate prices rose and rose, the government took steps to restrain speculation. In late October 2017, at the 19th Party Congress, President Xi Jinping said in a speech that housing should be, quote, for living rather than speculation, end quote, setting off an extended government campaign to cool prices and tamp down speculation. This drive hit its peak in late 2020 when the government passed their infamous 3 red lines policy. Those 3 red lines, more like danger zones, were a percentage ceiling on the ratio of liabilities to assets of 70%, accepting advances from contracted projects. The percentage of net debt to equity cannot exceed 100%, and finally, a requirement to hold at least $1 or RMB of cash for each dollar borrowed in the short term. I mentioned these 3 red lines in the Evergrande video. The highly levered Evergrande needed cash flow to both build its properties and pay down the debt taken out to acquire its land. But without cash, they can't finish properties. Without properties, they can't get cash. Spiraling decline. Unlike Evergrande, Country Garden seemed okay. In 2020, their net debt to equity was 56%, and they had 1.7 RMB of cash for each RMB of short-term debt. In 2021, that would go to 2.15 times. Their asset liability ratio was 80%, which was higher than the 70% red line, but they were working on that. In 2021, the ratio would be 78%. Very quickly, however, Country Garden realized that business in the real estate industry cannot go on as usual. Evergrande's crash would flood the market with unfinished apartments, causing prices to spiral lower. This weakens confidence in the market, making it harder for companies to raise money. To find growth, Country Garden began building up many diversification initiatives. In 2019, they announced themselves to be a, quote, high-tech comprehensive enterprise, end quote, and began investing in 2 pre-existing business lines in agriculture and construction robotics. By the end of 2021, Guangdong Bozhilin Robot unveiled their first medical and construction robots, which Country Garden said would replace manual laborers and be safer and more environmentally friendly. That same year, their agricultural division, Country Garden Agriculture, announced that it will build a large-scale unmanned farm. To be honest, many of these initiatives are given more attention than their substance warrants. Country Garden is nowhere near replacing its real estate revenue streams with robot and farm revenues. Through 2022, Country Garden managed to produce like as if normal, despite a deteriorating real estate environment. The Chinese business magazine Caixin reported that the company delivered 700,000 units in 2022, more than its competitors Evergrande and Vanke combined. So if Country Garden was in a better space financially than Evergrande, and they seemed to do so well in 2022, what happened in 2023? On the whole, 2022 ended strong, but things really struggled through the second half of that year. Country Garden only completed so many units thanks to help from local governments. So 2023 was a continuation of that, with sales in every month lagging those in the previous year, down 65% year over year for the first 9 months. The key point is that when things got soft, there was a flight to safety that benefited the Tier 1 cities like Beijing and Shanghai. The Country Garden had bet big on lower-tier cities, targeting residents in the growing white-collar class. Those areas suffered some of the worst price increases. Falling prices and bad sales. Sales fell 81% in the crucial September 2023 month, hurt the company's ability to build houses and service debt. No matter how your assets and liabilities are, losing 60% of sales will cause significant problems. In October 2023, the company defaulted on some of its dollar-denominated bonds, hurtling it into the global news sphere. Country Garden's financial instability is more worrying from a policy perspective because it is building so many more units. Country Garden delivered 400,000 units in the first 9 months of 2023, but the Japanese bank Nomura estimated that there are 1 million units still in the works. There will be social unrest if those apartments are not finished, so the company chose to use its limited cash flow for paying workers to finish real estate units rather than paying back bonds. I do feel like Country Garden will eventually finish these homes. Governments are highly incentivized to see these units completed. They might be worth 40 or 60% less now, but they're worth nothing if left incomplete. I do wonder, however, how willing those buyers will be to continue paying their mortgages if those mortgages are underwater. I'm not familiar with Chinese debt laws, but I wonder if walking away, like what happened in the United States, is an option. In March 2023, Yang Guoqiang resigned from Country Garden for age reasons. His second daughter, Yang Huiyan, takes control. We know little about her, but the Yang Huiyan in Wu's book is a close copy of her father. Country Garden's original winning business model was to find cheap land and build great things on top of it, a la Walmart. In the end, that business model failed them. Yang's ambitious expansion into the lower-tier cities was a great gamble. This one might take the company down. Walmart also suffered from its attachment to its early business model. In one of his last interviews, Charlie Munger talks about how Costco took advantage of Walmart's resistance to going into the rich suburbs and paying for good locations there. Country Garden fell into a similar trap. Paying more for sites in the Tier 1 cities might have done them some real good in these times. Country Garden might be on its way down, but I believe that the Chinese real estate industry isn't going anywhere. In China, real estate development is more than just building a simple roof over your head. It is an integrated platform that incorporates 50 to 60 other industries. Real estate will remain a massive part of the Chinese economy for a long time, and the government's recent moves to soften-ish its prior regulations on debt and the like make it clear that a complete move away from real estate would be a terrible mistake. Alright everyone, that's it for tonight. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel, sign up for the Patreon, and I'll see you guys next time.